You are live.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the February meeting of the Annapolis Education Commission. I'm Jeff McCrease. I'm serving this year as the chair of the commission. We have an agenda that was distributed electronically and is in the agendas section of the Annapolis website if you'd like to download it. Let me go ahead and read the agenda off right now. Number 1, call to order. 2, roll call. 3, approval of prior minutes. 4, comments and questions for Dr. Joanna Tobin, the school board member for the Annapolis cluster and surrounding areas. Number 5, food bank representative presentation from Ms. Kelly Salters. Number 6, committee reports. Number 7, old business. Number 8, new business. And number 9, motion to dismiss. So let's start, if we could, with a roll call, and we'll start with Ward 1, Ms. Brianna Griffin.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Brianna Griffin. I'm Ward 1 representative.
Thank you. Ward 2 is me, Jeff McCrease. Ward 3, Enid Collison-Lee.
Ward 3, Vice Chair.
Ward 4, Kayla Golder. Not present yet. Ward 5 nominated India Oaks, but not yet sworn in to my knowledge. Okay, Ward 6 is currently not filled. Ward 7, Ms. Laura Booth. Not yet here. Ward 8, Ms. Jess Packler.
Hi, I'm Jess Packler, Ward 8. I'm here. Laura Booth isn't able to attend tonight.
Okay.
I just got a message.
Thank you.
I'm a mom of 2 at Eastport and 2 at Annapolis Middle, and also involved in the PTA at both of those schools, as well as.
Great, thank you. At large A, Ms. Odessa Ellis. Understand she's going to be a little bit late tonight. At large B, Ms. Pam Bukowski. And she may not make it tonight. At large C, Ms. Janet Norman.
I'm here. I'm also the president this year of Annapolis High PTSA.
Great, thank you. At large D, Mr. Ken Starks. Not yet here. And our older person, Ms. Sheila Finlayson. Not yet here. So, Madam Secretary, I'm showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attendees. We do not yet meet our quorum number of 7. I'm going to hold off then on our approval of prior minutes until we get a quorum. Okay, is there anyone from the field who would like to add anything to our agenda before we get started?
I don't want to add to the agenda, but I just wanted to comment on the minutes. So Brianna, you could fix them before we get to that point. If we get to that point, they are missing the conversation that we had in the, oh, I had them open and now they're missing. Sorry, but in the conversation regarding the Ward 6, there was a whole conversation that we had about the slowness of going through the city process, and that it's not just that we're having a hard time finding somebody, but that we had people who were interested, and it took a long time for them to get through. And I think that was fairly relevant information, and that I'd like to have that included in the.
Can you let me know what number and letter of the
Yeah, sorry, Yep, I just found it. It was where was it? It was in the old business letter A.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess when we do have a quorum, if we get to that, maybe someone can propose wording to add to summarize that conversation.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anything else from anyone to add to tonight's agenda?
There's probably things to add. Definitely in the old business, we'll be adding the great schools rating discussion. I guess in the new business, we will hopefully cover some of the graduation issues and needs of our schools for hybrid learning.
Okay, I've added that under old business and new business. Anything else? Okay, if not, once again, it's a pleasure to invite here Dr. Joanna Tobin, who is the Board of Education representative for the Annapolis cluster of schools and the surrounding area. Dr. Tobin, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCrease, and thank you to everyone on the commission for inviting me and welcoming me every month. A couple of things. Obviously, one of the, we have many things going on at the schools right now. We have approved the budget that is moving towards now to the county government, county council. And that actually, that meeting went in record time by our standards now. But we have, I think as most are aware now, some particular areas of focus. We approved more mental health positions, because I think it's, obviously we've known for a long time, we need those anyway, but we particularly need more positions. So I think we approved an additional 19 all told. We approved more community ambassadors, which is an ongoing need, particularly in the Annapolis cluster. I should say the mental health positions, the counselor positions in particular, we were focused on having more counselors in elementary schools, because our numbers are way off in most cases. And I think one of our schools in this county, not this district, Piney Orchard, has like 760 students to one counselor or something like that. So we approved those, as well as some additional social work and school psychologist positions. And we also, probably the biggest portion, we approved rectifying all the back steps for teachers, which most people who've been following this for a long time know that going back to the previous recession, we have been behind on that score. And I think many of us felt that, especially now that the blueprint override happened. Thank you, Delegate Jones and other members of our state legislature. It also means that we have to be ready to meet certain requirements about starting salaries for teachers. So we've got to catch up some of these gaps going forward with that. And we also passed an amendment to the budget. These were particularly amendments to the budget that the superintendent, Dr. Arlotto, had proposed. Also bringing up other bargaining units as well. So it's a big lift. There's going to have to be a lot of lobbying of our county council members and county executive. We did make cuts to the superintendent's budget, particularly probably most notably in the number of new teachers hired. We cut 29. We were going to hire 129 new teachers. We're hiring 100 based on this budget, because again, we felt that that offset the mental health positions that we added. And we felt that was particularly important right now. And system-wide, the difference between 129 new teachers and 100 new teachers in terms of actual ratio in classes is not felt that much across the system. So those are the kind of highlights of the budget. With regard to the Annapolis area, I also, the one amendment we passed to the capital budget is, some of you may be aware, there's been an ongoing problem with the boiler at Studio 39, which is right near Germantown Elementary, and has been belching this unpleasant, foul smelling smoke for a long time. And so we passed an amendment to reprioritize that. So depending on the line item for maintenance backlogs that we get from the county, we've prioritized Studio 39 at the top of that local list. So I think those are the highlights, and those are the things that really affect our immediate area. And the other thing, of course, is we're working now towards reopening. We have, as of last week, we have vaccinated 3,400 students, teachers, and staff. We, I believe, today had a vaccine clinic. We were supposed to, and of course the weather cooperated. I believe we were looking for 1,500 to 200 more doses. It's always a little last minute how many doses we actually get. The firefighters are doing the vaccinations for us. They're extraordinary. And in fact, I toured the clinic the first day a couple of weeks ago. And I was speaking to the captain who oversees the vaccination teams. And he told me they are so precise in drawing. You know, there's this phenomenon of what they call overdrawing. They were able, out of the 1,000 doses we got, official doses, they were able to vaccinate closer to 1,200 people that day. So they have done extraordinary work. Chief Wolford has been an incredible partner with Dr. Arlotto putting these things together. And they are ready every time on a dime, because as we're well aware, we sort of know week to week what doses we're getting, when we're getting them, how many will be allocated. And the firefighters have told us they can vaccinate up to 7,500 people in a day as we are now set up. So on a dime, we can set that up. And it's been set up at Severna Park High School because the fire department felt that was the best facility for them to work in and the most convenient for them. And it's sort of in the middle. And so that's where we are with that. And otherwise, we are working towards opening in hybrid elementary schools beginning Monday. Teachers obviously are to some extent back in the buildings. I don't believe we've had, I mean, obviously Wednesdays are a little different. I think some of the tech problems are beginning to be resolved in that first couple of days. And so hopefully by the time students are in the building, that will be resolved. And otherwise we're moving forward with that. So those are basically the highlights. I'm happy to take questions. And is it okay, Mr. McCrease, if I call on people, or would you prefer to?
Go ahead, take charge.
I see Ms. Norman has a question.
Dr. Tobin, so Annapolis High PTSA had sent the board a list of our prioritized needs for funding that we were hoping. And the highest among that was an additional social worker for Annapolis.
Yeah.
So when you say, you know, some social workers were included in the budget, in previous years, Annapolis High had gotten a line item high school counselor in the budget. How many social workers were included, and where will they be going, hopefully Annapolis High?
So I believe, and I should have this in front of me, there are so many issues right now that it's hard to keep all the details in my head, but
Crazy.
I believe we've got 3 more social workers in the amendment. So and that came because in Dr. Arlotto's initial proposed budget, he had proposed, I believe, 1 new social worker.
Right.
And it was clear that was not coming to Annapolis High. Now, I will tell you, it is very difficult to set up an amendment where we dictate exactly where a particular position goes, right? I have made it very clear, they have heard from others as well, that obviously for all the reasons that those of us who know Annapolis High know, which is you've got 2 caseloads coming into 1, right? That while on paper, the answer is, well, Annapolis High already has all their own social worker, you know, which is it's like, no, that's not sufficient. So I have continued to make it clear that and that will only, I fear, increase as students come back, as we come out of this pandemic, because families, we had obviously many families at Annapolis High who were struggling. We may have more.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I think it's very important. And I also believe, you know, if teachers are going to teach, we need to make sure these other supports are there. And social workers are critical because they don't just support the student, they support the whole family. And so often the issues that present in school, if you will, aren't simply the student, they have to do with the student's community and family. So,
So when would we know, after the budget is adopted and we know the number of positions, when does the school system determine where those new positions go?
This is obviously my first budget cycle, but my understanding is obviously that gets determined fairly quickly. I mean, it goes into effect in July 1, right? And obviously the hiring has to happen over the summer. So pretty much I would think as soon as we've got our final budget, because as you know, it goes to the county council and then it comes back to us, and then, you know, that determination will be made, but I'm certainly going to be following it. And as soon as I know anything,
great.
You will know.
So there's now 4 total, or there was one proposed by Dr. Arlato and you made that 3?
I believe we made it 4.
You made it 4. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I'm going to have to double check myself on that. That's my recollection.
Okay.
It was late at night.
Yes, many of those have been.
Anything else?
One of the things, and I've reached out to Jody Rissy about this, but is about like, I know we spoke briefly about it, is about the school meals, and with the changing of the start times, how that is going to disenfranchise a number of our students at various levels from receiving meals. For the kids who pick up meals from the high school that are in elementary and middle school, the high school times are going to be so early that very few of the elementary and middle school kids will be able to pick up their lunches without missing school. And for virtual high school kids, which includes people who are virtual all the time, as well as people who are virtual, you know, just on their cohort days and every Wednesday, well, Wednesday will be fine. But the high school kids who pick up meals from middle and elementary schools will have to, will either have to miss school or miss lunch. And same with the middle schools and a number of the different elementary schools. So I'm wondering if you've heard anything more. I haven't heard back from Jody, but if you've heard anything more about how this is going to be, because this is, you know, a big issue.
I've raised the question, and it is my understanding this is still being worked out. That I mean, particularly obviously high school, we have some leeway, but that they're aware that there's a disconnect and they're still working it out, that these, you know, where you see the 12 to 12:30 lunch delivered, no change, you know, depending on down the whole Annapolis cluster list, that there is some flexibility in there, but that hasn't been determined quite yet, but I'm going to be following up on it, because speaking again for myself, you know, having to make a choice between food and class is not at all reasonable. That's simply not going to work. And we had we worked it out. We had a similar issue with when the schedule was changed for elementary schools a while back. And we had to ultimately make sure that got changed, because that's just, you know, not an appropriate choice to require anybody to make.
Yeah, we actually don't have time to work on it, because although the students won't be in school, their schedules will have shifted this Monday.
I know.
And so, like the disconnect between lunch being in class happens on, you know, from this Monday.
My conversation was 2 days ago. I'm going to have another one.
Right. Just so, I mean, as of Monday, because I mean, very few people pick up at Annapolis High School. Most of the high schoolers who pick up at a local elementary school. So as of Monday, none of them will be able to get meals.
Right. Yeah. So we're working on it.
Thank you. I have heard and I don't know what you can say, but I've heard some rumors about some changes happening at Monarch Annapolis. Wondering if you can speak to that at all.
It's my understanding that the principal will be taking a leave of absence, and the school system is working to ensure a smooth transition. And that's really all I know at this point. So.
Joanna, on a separate issue, I've got a question for you. I got a chance to sit in on a webinar yesterday on industrial heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems as they regard schools.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating and it was terrifying at the same time. And my takeaway was the warning that one of the protagonists offered was for those schools built in the 1970s with no windows, a lot of interior rooms, and 1970s air conditioning systems, they're at the greatest peril. So are you confident that the administration is talking about ventilation and air quality as we get ready to repopulate these schools?
Well, this is a question that comes up, as you can imagine, a lot. And what has been continuously reported to us, and in fact, I've been sitting in on various, PTA meetings, as is my, part of my job. And principals obviously are working on this a lot, and the different schools have different needs. The systems have been, all the filters, all of that sort of thing have been changed. The air systems have been set up to bring in completely bring in outside air, no recirculated air. And part of that is keeping systems where the fan is on all the time. So you don't have the auto shift. And so that is essentially what has been done. And it's all to the standard that we've been given as our guidance from the health department, which in turn is our county health department, which is in turn, as you know, Dr. Kanyaraman has a whole sort of advisory council that he's convened over this whole process. But it's also then the guidance we're getting from the state, which in turn goes to the CDC and the federal guidance. I know a lot of people are very concerned about this, and this is, an airborne illness, and everyone is right to be concerned about it. I do think people also need to understand that this is why we have the hybrid structure with only such a small number of students in the building at any given time. And so if you think about Annapolis High, I think we have like 640 all told coming into hybrid. Well, that's 2 cohorts, right? So on any given day, you're talking about 320 students in that building. Now, we all know how big that building is. And that's why that gives us a lot of space, so to speak, to make sure that you're not in these super enclosed, crowded settings with a lot of students. But it is also the case that, and this, this is what Dr. Kanyaraman has been communicating to us, that the data we have that schools, aren't the source of spread, right? They reflect community spread, but they don't drive community spread, has been gathered in all of our entire schools across the country, something like, close to 50% of which are way behind in terms of being rebuilt and brought up to date, so to speak. So that's also, the mitigation procedures that have been in place seem to have worked in those settings. So that's the information we are working on as the board in following this, to make sure that we get these regular reports, but also to know what the guidance is and are we meeting those standards? And we are right now. So that's what I can tell you. I mean, nobody knows, none of us know 100% when everybody's in the building just how everything's going to play out. As Dr. Kalniraman has said to us over and over again, this is not about risk elimination. This is about risk mitigation. But we have done at this point everything that our guidance has told us we need to do to mitigate the risk. So
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. That's very reassuring. And Janet, for you as a president of Annapolis High PTA, this is only said half jokingly, but one of the experts there recommended that there is something that parents and local teachers can do, and that's the use of portable Hepa filters that you plug into the wall and run inside an enclosed room. I mentioned that for you for your consideration.
So if I could just jump in, Janet, sorry, you're muted, but if I can just jump in. So Eastport Elementary has been looking into this for some time because our school, as you know, is 110 years old, except for 4 classrooms. And our HVAC system, maybe not 110 years old, but it's not new or young.
maybe just 100.
Maybe just 100, maybe even 80. But it is a big concern in our school and for our teachers. And so we've been looking into this, and for the longest time, which was, I think, is unfortunate, the school system said that teachers could not bring in air purifiers, and that donations of air, excuse my noise in the background, if you can hear my 6-year-old, air purifiers were not allowed to be donated. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, the school system has changed their stance on that. And so we have done a lot of research at Eastport, and I will just say, just for Eastport, to get air purifiers for our 12 old classrooms, as well as the high traffic places like the main office, Miss Gallagher's, the principal's office, where people might, teachers might be coming in and out, and in the classrooms where teachers are using for various things, which is about 16, the bare minimum cost for that is $3,000. And that's for air purifiers that will likely not do what needs to be done. So it's an equity issue, right? Because you have some schools, we have a number of schools in the school system that are brand new and they have brand new air filters, and that's not an issue. But for schools that aren't new, for schools that are older, if they don't have the means to get in their PTA $5,000, so $3,000 is the bare minimum. For Eastport, it's really going to cost closer to $5,000 to get filters that actually work for the size of the rooms that we have. And that's a huge amount of money especially for schools that don't even have a PTA or a PTO, which tends to be the older schools with less resources. So sorry, Janet, I just wanted to put that.
Oh, no, that's great research, Jess. Yeah. So I have looked into it, and as Jess says, these units are running, the recommended ones are running approximately $250 to $350 each. There is a industrial air filtration expert that I'm following on Twitter that has a do-it-yourself design that could be made by like our tech ed classes with a box fan and some filter box that taped on there for about $50. And I would love us to be doing this for our teachers, having seen all those enclosed windowless rooms that my sons have been in at Annapolis High, that, we have the perfect storm of the population at risk with 40% Hispanic, 30% African-American, and 30% white, people of low income families, over 50 to 60% in Annapolis High, and an old school and poor ventilation. And the PTA, my PTA, has approximately $5,000 to $6,000 for our entire year budget. That's the entirety of everything we have to fund. So we don't have the 5 times to 10 times as much $50,000 PTA budgets that many of our suburban counterparts have. So I really think that the school system needs to step up and protect our teachers and our vulnerable student populations.
I agree. I would also say that, the school system keeps saying that Maryland State says our filter systems are fine and what we have in our systems is fine.
Yeah.
But CDC clearly recommends in all of their school reopening guidelines that air filters be used unless the systems are new, or there is another way to really circulate air through the building. So while the state might say that according to CDC, if we want to have open schools and we want to do it to the safest level possible for our teachers and our students, we should be using air filtration systems in older schools like ours. So I think that's something.
And it's just one more thing that's driving our quality teachers out of the system. They're saying our system doesn't care about us and doesn't care about our health and bag this, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back next year. I'm done.
All right.
I want to make,
please.
I just want to make one quick correction. We added 5 social workers for a total of 6.
Okay, total of 6. Excellent. Okay.
All right. Last call for questions or comments for Dr. Tobin.
Well, Dr. Tobin, I didn't know how long you had to stay or go. I didn't know if you were going to be here for the discussion of the great schools issue later, or we could get to it now.
Would it be terribly inconvenient to get to it now?
That I'd be
also,
quickly.
I also had one other additional piece of information. Our teacher clinic for vaccination is tomorrow, not today, and it's 1,000 doses we're supposed to get this week. So, sorry, just wanted to add that.
I could let Dr.
Janet, before we get to the
Jones.
great schools, I saw Delegate Jones had her hand up here.
Sure.
Delegate Jones, to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Dr. Tobin, I just had a really quick question. You mentioned how many students or how many teachers and staff had been vaccinated. And I was just wondering if we could drill down on, is that second doses as well? And do you have a percentage? It is just first. I just would like that on the record. So everybody listening and watching, and the percentage of teachers and staff that have gotten that first dose in the county, please.
So we have, it's a little over a third because we have about 12,000 people to vaccinate. So we've got a little over a third who've, as of today, who have had their first dose. So as of tomorrow, that'll go up a bit, but that's where we are. So thank you.
I just wanted to make sure we all knew that number.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, Janet, back to you, please.
Sure. So Dr. Tobin and others on the commission, you might have repeatedly heard me bring up the issue of the Great Schools organization does a rating system that is appended to real estate listings in our area. And as Jess and Laura Booth and I all know, people who are moving into the area come on to a local moms group or Eastport Neighborhood Forum saying, I'm looking to buy a house, but I see that the rating of Annapolis High and Annapolis Middle School are horrible. And, tell me how scary these schools are, and should I never buy a house here? And so many of us spend an inordinate amount of energy describing and defending and explaining our school system when this highly inaccurate rating system is being used widespread. And so I would like, and it's an issue I've brought up for the last 3.5 years. So I would love to know what has been done. I just went on the Great Schools rating. It's no longer a 4 out of 10 for Annapolis High. It's now down to a 3 out of 10. And vast chunks of data are missing, like number of students who take an AP course. It says less than 1%. Number of students enrolled in IB says less than 1%, as if there's no data.
Yeah.
So I would like that site taken down if it's not providing accurate data, or seeing what the school system is actually doing to help our cluster represent itself accurately. Thank you.
So after the last meeting, I followed up with Mr. Mosier, who's the one who communicates with them, and he has had quite a bit of communication correspondence with them about updating the data, getting accurate data. Their response is that they have certain clearinghouses they go through, and until that data is updated, they're not updating their data. Now, I do know that he is actually, he followed up again following the last meeting, and he's awaiting a response from them, and he will follow up with them again tomorrow. I mean, yes, we're aware of the problem, and we're trying to get them to pay attention to the fact that this is doing real damage, and it's just inaccurate. As you said, the AP and the IB, which is so much, has a heavy weight in the way they lay out the data, which I think goes to another set of issues. And I think there was some discussion about this before we began the session tonight, which is also, I've always had a lot of concerns about rating systems like that and how accurately they really give you a picture of a school.
Right, but a lot of military families use them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're moving to a new place and they have to look at the ratings like this.
I mean, any house, it's not only, I mean, any, Annapolis High School, Annapolis Elementary is rated a 3.
Oh, yeah.
Georgetown East is rated a 3. Tyler Heights is now down at a 2. And the main reason they use is because it goes against, it's what we were,
achievement gap.
the whole problem, right, is that it doesn't take into account that Tyler Heights is 98% Hispanic and something like 88% English language learners. And so you just can't compare that with a school that has 1% English language learners, because it's a totally different level of education. And it doesn't compare the level of education. But I mean, I just had a long conversation this weekend with a family who was looking at purchasing a home in the Tyler Heights district. And they said, what are we going to do? We can't afford private school, but Tyler Heights, Annapolis Middle, and Annapolis High School are horrible schools. And, that's a problem. That is a serious problem.
Well, I mean, my own view is we also, and we may be able to have a more direct impact on this through discussions with the state, but I think there are some significant changes personally, again, speaking for myself, I'd like to see made to the way the report card that the state issues is structured. And I think unless and until you really demonstrate that you're comparing schools with similar demographics, other than that, you're apples to oranges, because so many of the issues, as Ms. Packler was saying, have to do with everything from how many English language learners you have to issues around poverty to a lot of things. And unless you really define that as part of what you're looking at, you're not getting a reasonable comparison between schools. So I would hope that is something we can, personally, I would like to work on. And I think if that gets changed, that can also drive some of these other changes with groups like Great Schools and so on. So,
Jeff, I would love to have our elected officials at all levels of the Annapolis cluster lobby and use their powers with Great Schools to make these changes. I wrote them a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to write again to explain the issue and get them to care that this affects their real estate bottom line, tax base, perception of their area, and see if we can get them, along with the school system, to really put some weight behind getting this fixed.
Janet, I agree with you. And I'm also curious regarding Great Schools. How are they funded? And do they take money from other schools for rankings? Like, there's a lot there I would like to drill down on, and how some schools float to the top and others don't, aside from how they're weighting schools and how they're coming up with this, and then not having accurate information when they give those scores, which is just egregious. So I'd really like to drill down on that all together. So we should definitely talk together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Delegate.
Delegate, I'd just like to chime in and thank you for saying that, because I'm genuinely curious if there might not be a way to think through how an operation like that operates in our state, right? What are the regulations and requirements for producing accurate information that has a significant impact on funding, on a whole bunch of things that happen in our schools. So thank you.
And just absolute misinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't mean to cast aspersions on it, but, you know, businesses who have really fought against Yelp and others, right? That, you know, you're at the mercy in some ways of a system that you have no input into and can't hold accountable.
And Dr. Tobin, I have to say that that is exactly what my mind immediately went to, that great schools, when they come up with this magic formula that then they feel like they don't have to answer to, in fact, potentially feels like a very Yelp situation.
Yeah, it does, because people use it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, Joanna, thank you again for investing time to come join us every month, and we'll continue to welcome you, and we extend a blanket invitation
Well,
to join us.
I thank you very much. I consider it a standing part of my calendar and frankly, part of my job and something I always look forward to. I apologize tonight that I am going to have to get off by 7 because I have another commitment I have to go to, but anyone can follow up with me. Anything in particular, you know where to find me. So.
Can I just make a request about the great schools? One thing I noticed when I was going through them just now is that the school system has not claimed many of our schools. And when the school system claims it, then the school system can go in and add, you know, this is an IB school. They can add a sort of a summary, and they can add different things. And the school system has not claimed many of the Annapolis cluster schools. So if that's something the school system can do while we're working on the other side, I think that would be a really good help.
This is something so the terminology, what do you mean by claimed?
So if you look at a school, for example, I was looking at Bates. And
Right.
so it says unclaimed, and this school has not yet claimed its profile. School leaders claim your school's profile to edit general information and share what makes your school unique. So that's an opportunity where if somebody does decide to go past the number and look, they'll say, oh, Bates has a PVA program, and Bates has, this, and right now none of that is included on Bates or Annapolis Middle. So that's something I think, certainly the communications department.
Well, thanks for raising that. I'll look into that because that's odd. There may be some reason for it, but I can't imagine what it is. So I'll look into it.
Jess, that's a great idea. I will follow up with Ms. Jolene Davis, the regional superintendent, and Mr. Mosier, and I'll forward that suggestion along. That sounds like an action that would be relatively easy for our principals to take on if it goes through the direction of Ms. Davis.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in the loop on that as well. So I know how I too can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ms. Jones, I'll info you on that correspondence as well.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Again,
Can I end on one happy note before Dr. Tobin has to go?
please.
So as Dr. Tobin knows, over the weekend, she was part of an awesome donation from a local business, Sam's Club, to Annapolis High, with a total of like 10,000 disposable masks, cleaning supplies, literally 2 huge pallets of PPE gear that was arranged by one of our PTSA parents in conjunction with the store manager, and Dr. Tobin was there to help SUV that transfer.
we were a little convoy. It's amazing. And Christy Flory Chandonate, who sought the donation, literally just texted the manager of Sam's Club, and he texted back and he said, sure. And I think it's like $3,500 worth of stuff. And it's
so needed.
And it's wonderful to, I mean, it was face shields, it was disposable masks, it was cleaning materials, and even some masks for very young children. And there are staff and teachers at Annapolis High who can then take that home to their families and their communities, but also some have a few very young children coming in with them. And so, you know, it really was wonderful. So yeah,
Yes.
that was some happy news. So
That was happy news.
Hey,
Thanks
we-
for
so
I'll
go to
sharing, Janet.
Sam's, go to Sam's Club. They did a wonderful
And-
job. I'm not trying to push anything, but they were wonderful.
That's
And
awesome.
also our local store, KB True Value Hardware, Mr. Principal Jelinas told us that they made a very nice donation of PPE supplies to Annapolis also. So
Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah,
we're
we have
talking about
wonderful
masks,
partners.
I'll just throw out there that I've been working with Jolyn Davis on making sure that we have masks for our, particularly our Title I schools, and then also our middle schools. And we are working with a group called Sew Mask Maryland. And so we have people across the state that have been sewing masks and sending them. We've collected 600 for the elementary school level, and now we are focused on getting more on that level, but then also increasing for the middle school level and making sure that we have enough. So we are getting them on that level, but anybody's watching or anybody is interested, we can always use more donations of
Yeah.
surgical masks or, you know, good reusable masks for the students, because the school system is not providing any masks for the students.
For the students.
Can I ask a question about that, Jess?
Yes.
The reusable masks, how could someone help in this effort? How could they donate? What could they do in order to help in that effort in making, or those who are making the masks for Title I schools, the 2 reusable, I believe you said, for each
Right.
child?
That's what we're trying to get, is 2 reusable for each child, and then an additional collection of, so I know that schools are accepting drop-offs of PPE. So if somebody wants to donate the surgical mask, the one-time use mask, but I will put a link on the Annapolis Education's Facebook page to the Sew Mask Maryland, where their sign up is for the reusable mask donations, and then also a location where they can be dropped off also. But it's my house right now.
I'd love to help amplify that message and try to get it to as many folks as possible.
That would be great. Maybe we can
Thank you.
find a location that isn't my front porch, and I can work with you on that.
My front porch is filled with diapers for
With
Tyler
diapers,
Heights.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Joanna,
work
if you've
on
got
that,
a
Jamie.
7 o'clock meeting, you better get
Yes,
out of here.
I gotta
quick,
get going.
because-
All righty. Thank you
Okay.
all. See you
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you
And
very
Dana
much.
says she's leaving too. I don't know if you can see.
I'm so sorry. I hate to interrupt, but
Yeah, no worries.
I have to zoom on into the next square. It's so Brady Bunch. I'm so thrilled with this invitation, and I'm so happy to be here. So let's see, Janet, we need to follow up on grade schools.
Great schools. Yep.
Yeah, and then Jess, you and I will follow up on how we can amplify that message for folks to donate for the reusable masks.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Dana. Appreciate it. Please, you got a standing invitation to come
Yeah,
join us
no, I'd love to do-
whenever you like.
Okay, that's
Thanks.
wonderful. I'd love to come back. So thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, item number 5 on our agenda is a presentation from Ms. Kelly Salters, who's the Director of Logistics and Meals for the Maryland Food Bank. Ms. Salters, thanks very much for waiting patiently. We appreciate it, and we turn the floor over to you, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the Maryland Food Bank does and what are we doing in Anne Arundel County, especially Annapolis. So the Maryland Food Bank has been in operation since 1979. We are located in Baltimore County. We have 3 locations. We have our main office, which is in Baltimore County down in Halethorpe. We have Eastern Shore and a Weston. Okay, so we service all the counties in Maryland except for PG and Montgomery County, which Capital Area services those 2 counties. We are probably one of the only, I would say, sponsors of the CACFP and SFSP program that work in Annapolis. Most of the sponsors are in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, but I know that there's a need in Annapolis, and I'm just so willing to help. We work very closely with Jody and the Anne Arundel County Public Schools. She's quite helpful when she has sites that she can't service. You know, she'll ask me if I'm in the area, and we try to make sure that we make it happen. So our meal program is a governmental reimbursable program. It's the CACFP program, which is the Child and Adult Care Program, and the SFSP, which is the Summer Food Service Program. Both programs are run by USDA, and they are administered by the Maryland State Department of Education here in the state of Maryland. The Maryland Food Bank is a sponsor for this program, which means we go out, we find locations that would like to be a part of this program at no cost to them. There's no cost to them at all. And we do all of the paperwork, we do all of the monitoring, and everything with MSDE is put on our shoulders. And we provide food. For the Summer Food Service Program, we give you breakfast and lunch, okay? And for CACFP, we give you dinner and a snack. As of right now, with COVID going on, most of the sites are able to get all 4 meals. So since last March, we have been delivering breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack. Down in Annapolis, we have about 6 site locations. We work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Annapolis, so we service all of their sites. We were also at the Stanton Community Center, but unfortunately, they have not been serving. But within Anne Arundel County, we have 11 sites. The Maryland Food Bank also offers school pantries, which they have about 19 pantries within Anne Arundel County. They are operating in 7 schools in Anne Arundel County. So we have 7 schools where we have a pantry, which means the Maryland Food Bank gives this food to the schools at no cost. And they can come, they buy off of, well, we don't say buy, they can choose their items off of the menu, and we deliver it and everything. We also have 1 soup kitchen in Anne Arundel County and a ton of mobiles. Mobiles are, we come, we set up, and just distribute everything that day, okay? We are always looking for more sites. The meal program, which is what I am in charge of, and we are always looking for more sites. There is some criteria as to how you can become a meal program site, because as I said, we are a sponsor. So everything that we do has to go through MSDE. So once you reach out to me and say, I would like to be able to get after school meals or summer meals, we present you with an application and we submit this information to MSDE. And for the most part, we generally don't have a problem because we've asked all the proper questions to make sure that you do qualify to be a part of the program. But the Summer Food Service Program is really much easier because you can be an open site, meaning you can serve any child that comes to your door during your feeding time and say, listen, can I have something to eat? Which is fabulous. Whereas with the CACFP program, and we call it our after school program, it's a little bit different. You have to have some type of educational programming going on. And when I say it can be educational, it can be sports, but you must have some form of activity for the children. You can't just say, I want to give out food, which I do get a lot of people, they'll call and they'll email me like, well, we want to be able to give food to the neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, so where's your organization? Where we don't work out of your house. You can't just decide, well, I'm going to serve the kids from my house. That doesn't work. We don't work that way. It can be a church. It can be a community center. It can be the gym, the school. The other thing about the programs is that the way MSDE is set up, if Anne Arundel County Public School is already in the building providing meals, we cannot come into the building. MSDE system does not allow that. They allow one sponsor at a time. So that's been a problem, which is why me and Jody have begun to work so closely together, because there's been times when she's been in a building and somebody will reach out to me and say, well, we want to get food from you. Different times, depending on what the numbers, how many she's doing, how many I'm doing. I may say, well, fine, Jody, you go ahead and take this site. Or she'll say, Kelly, you can have it. So that's basically what we do. That's what I do. The Maryland Food Bank offers a lot of different programs. They have SNAP, they have TFAB. As I said, the decided you want to become a partner, if you are a 501c, you can reach out and find out, how do I become a partner? A partner is a little bit different from the other programs because they pay a small fee, a membership fee, as well as they get the food, but as we call it, Sam's Club, because it's at a discounted price. But the schools that reach out to us, they get their food free. We have government grants and sponsors that grants where everything is free to them. So if you know of any schools or any organizations that would like to be a part of, they can just reach out to the Maryland Food Bank and give us a call, and I will get them in touch with the correct party. If it's in reference to meals, they will talk directly to me. And we can talk about it, see what's going on, how many kids. Right now, we are only feeding, like I said, 6 sites in Annapolis, and the numbers are very low. The numbers are very low. One of the sites that I keep getting calls about is the East Point, which is run by Housing Authority. At one point when COVID first started, they were doing 60 meals. They've dropped their meals to 30. And I keep asking, where are the kids? I know where you're located. I physically go out and visit all of these locations. So I know that there are children. I cannot force them to take the food. I can offer it to them. I can't just send it out and then it's wasted. So I know there were I got a lot of kickback that East Point is not being serviced, that the Clay area is not being serviced. We're there. But if we can't find an organization that's willing to distribute the meals, there's nothing that we can do. So if you know of organizations in these areas that are willing to work with us, please have them reach out to me. You have a question, Miss Jessica?
Questions or comments there? Janet, please. And then Jess.
I just wanted to ask, I think you're already working with our Annapolis High Panther Pantry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I think they were getting wonderful support from the Maryland Food Bank. So we're very thankful. Thank you so much. It's been such a successful program there and really great for the community.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Jess.
I had a question when you were talking about the Eastport area. So particularly for that one, because that's my ward in my area, who can access the food that is offered? Is it out of the Eastport Community Center that you're offering the food?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
Eastport? And then who?
The Eastport Community Center is the organization that reached out to us and said, we would like to distribute meals.
Okay.
And so that is where the food goes. We drop the food. We have told Eastport that you can offer this food. They have a program at Eastport.
Right.
So they initially wanted it for their program, which is fine, but we have made them aware that you can give it out to the community. If anyone that comes, a child that comes and says, can I have a meal? You can give it to them.
Okay, I think that might be part of the problem with the drop-in things is, as far as I'm aware and everyone that I've talked to, we were told that it was only for people attending the program at Eastport Community Center, that if you weren't attending the program or if you didn't live in Harbor House or Eastport in the HACA community, then you weren't able to access those meals.
Yes, I think they fixed that.
I'm sorry, say it again.
No, that's what we've been told. I was just talking with a family about it yesterday.
And
Well, I thought that they fixed that.
They fixed it this summer, but then when school started and the program started, they said that it was going back to being only if you were in the program.
Oh, okay.
So that was
I didn't know that.
As I said, that was something that Eastport made that decision. That is not mandated by the Maryland Food Bank. They are an open site, especially right now with COVID. We can feed all children. So if Eastport knows that they have 60 kids in a neighborhood or 100 kids in a neighborhood that they will come and get the food every day, we can send them that many meals.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Lynn, maybe you can help me work with how to get the word out to the community at large, that they can, confirm with HACA that it's okay, and then that they're allowing that. And then, because I think that would really help.
It sounds like we need to circle back with HACA. I'm happy to facilitate that.
Right, because
But
that
I
site
did not know that there had been a change.
Yeah, that site is much.
I just sent Archie a text asking him why we stopped at Stanton Center. So
okay.
Stanton Center closed some. I know they moved to a new location, and then they were getting meals, and then they said they were moving back, and then they just stopped. No.
I just sent him a text message
Yes.
asking him why we aren't doing it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that will also help, you know, I mean, it's a 45-minute round trip walk, 30-minute if you're fast from Harbor House East, from President Street, whether you're in Harbor House Eastport Terrace or 1000 Madison or in a single family home, to Eastport Elementary. So when we're talking about the concerns about school times with the high school and the middle schools, and the other, you know, students who attend Monarch or students who attend Phoenix or whatever, with the changing school times, knowing that there's a place closer where they can pick up food, I think would be helpful.
Right. And so we are in Annapolis, we're at the we're at Bates, we're at Admiral Oaks, we're at Bywater, we're at Robinwood, Eastport. So all of those locations can feed the community.
Do you know, has the school system communicated with you about the changing start time? So, you know, up until now, all students were at the same, they finished at around 11:30 and then they got back around 1, but that's going to be changing across the school system. Have you been communicating with them and to make sure that the times that your food is available coordinates with when children are available to get the food?
So actually what happens with our food, we have our own delivery vans. Our drivers leave out in the morning, any place, usually by 8:30 in the morning. They're on the road going to these locations. Part of being a part of this program is you must have refrigeration because we have so many stops. So we drop the food and you need to refrigerate the food. If you are not serving right then and there, you can refrigerate it and you can serve it to the kids as they come in. You know, we do ask them to give us a certain time of the day that they're gonna serve. Like, so breakfast is 9 to 10. Lunch is 12 to 1. We just need to know what time. Okay, so it's not a matter of, oh, we only come out when the kids are there. No, the food is there. If the kids' time change, and it's up to the organization. If the organization, whatever time they want to serve. I have some sites that, you know, with school going back, they may say, you know what, Miss Kelly, all we want to do is supper and snack. I don't know yet. I know that school is going back next week. And as of right now, everybody's still on, we want all 4 meals. And I'm like, okay. So if they decide to change their minds, there's nothing that I can do. I can offer them the food, but if they're not willing to take it and serve it, this is what happens.
Right. I mean, all students are only going back 2 days a week. So there's still going to be 3 days a week where they'll need all the food. So like they'll get food in school, but it'll only be 2 days a week if they go back at all. And I know at least, like I know at Eastport Elementary, we have 2/3 of our students are not returning to school. They're staying virtual. It's pretty much the same actually across Annapolis Middle, Annapolis High School. It's all about 2/3 of the students are remaining virtual. So just so you have those numbers for this area.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, can I ask that if you're coordinating with Eastport Community Center about like the times that they're going to be distributing, that you could let me know on the Annapolis High, so I could spread it on the Annapolis High PTSA Facebook page, so more of our parents know.
So I'll ask Jess to follow up with me tomorrow or Friday, and we'll try and get all the information. And
I'll shoot you an email and copy you on it, Jen.
We'll share it with me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And if they would like us to increase their numbers, as I tell all of my sites, I tried to ask them to give me 48-hour notice because we do have a kitchen on site, our food works department, and they prepare the meals fresh daily. So we try to give them at least 48 hours to make sure they have enough ingredients to make the meals. During COVID right now, everything has been cold meals, unfortunately. But once we get back to normal, our snack and our dinner, well, the dinner is usually a hot meal. Okay, so right now, mostly everything, and I've been with the kitchen trying to figure out different things because I don't like the idea of kids having sandwiches every day.
Kelly, just on that level, on that note, I just wanted to throw out there, we started a Facebook group called Cooking with School Food for families that are receiving, you know, especially when you get it from the school and you just get a bag and it's all the cold food, but then you have 400 boxes of leftover cucumber or celery, and what do you do with that? But also if, you know, some kids don't like the peanut butter, whatever. So if you want to spread the word about that, because it has, I think, been really helpful for families to figure out when they get the food, if they're getting the cold food, what they can do to, spice it up a little bit and use it in a different way, so that food isn't being wasted and families are using it. So.
Right. And so just to be clear, the meal program is prepared foods. Like they get breakfast, lunch. We're not sending like uncooked pancakes. Everything is like a meal. We follow USDA guidelines for what it should be. So say for breakfast, they may get pancakes, syrup, a piece of fruit. They follow the My Plate guideline. So everything is ready to eat for them.
Lynn, hi, welcome back. I'm wondering in what capacity you're working. That's my first question. Then Janet, I have a question for you is, for those of us who are not familiar with the Panther Pantry, who can go to it? How does it work at Annapolis High? But Lynn, first of all, how are you? Are you working with the housing development or?
No. I'm the assistant city manager.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Welcome back.
So, thank you. I see Alderwoman Finlayson has joined us. But yeah, I've been back for about 18 months. So
Okay.
yeah. Thanks, Ina. It's nice to see you. It'll be better to see you, all of you in person, but soon enough, I guess. Soon enough.
Okay, anything else for Ms. Salters or for the Maryland Food Bank?
So I'm just going to follow up Enid's question. The Panther Pantry was started a year and a half ago by Chris Jackson and a few other people, and it has been supremely successful, especially with the help of the Maryland Food Bank. So what they've been doing during COVID is they have a drive-through line, and people on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. I think maybe I'll have to check which Wednesday of the month they do it. But it is open to all. You don't have to have an affiliation with Annapolis High School. But they will, put bags of groceries within your car. And sometimes the PTSA sponsors an additional like baby pantry to have baby supplies and things with that. But you get two big bags of nutritious food, and everybody that I know who's used it has been very, very pleased.
I just want to say thank you, Kelly, for all you're doing. It's so important.
Thank you guys, and I appreciate all of you very much. As I tell everyone, my goal is to feed the kids, and I fight really hard to make sure that the food that they're getting is something that they will eat. I know a lot of people that they think, oh, we're just giving them anything. No, I fuss and I fight every day. Basically, my chef has to give me the menu 2 weeks prior so I can review it to see what he has on it. And he's a little artistic, so some of the times and I'm like, they're not gonna eat this. No, can't send this. And he looks at me like, oh, it was one thing, feta cheese. And I said, honey, kids don't really eat feta cheese. And he said to me, really? And I said, no, really, they don't. Okay.
But now they will, because it's all over TikTok. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's this whole feta cheese and tomato thing that now all the kids are loving it.
Okay, so I'm sure that's going to be on next month's menu. He probably add it back and say, Miss Callie, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so yes, just remember, if you have any locations, you can reach out to me, and I will sure enough speak with them to see if we can get them some food for the children. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and unfortunately, I do have to sign off as well. So. If you guys have any questions, my email is on the email chain, so you can just reach out to me, okay?
Well, Kelly, just for the record, my father was John McCreese from Athens, Greece, and we used to put feta cheese in our Cheerios in the morning. So there are some kids who eat it. So
okay.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much in your busy day for making time to share with us all the good things that the Maryland Food Bank is doing.
Kelly, could you please before you leave, if you could please put your email in the chat, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
Mr.
right,
Chair,
thank you, Kelly. Good night.
Mr. Chair, I just want to let you know the chat function is disabled.
I was
So her email is in the email chain that was sent out before.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Enid, if you can't find it, we'll forward it along. I think I do have it.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, great. Good night. Well, we're glad to see that Kayla and Odessa and Sheila have arrived. So I think we do have a quorum now. Let's go back to our minutes. Jess, did you forward to Brianna a summary? Brianna, do you have a summary of the missing item from last month?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you read that out loud? This is in addition to last meeting's minutes.
Right, so I think it was under old business, item A, about the Ward 6 seat. And Jess wanted to clarify that she and others brought up the delays the city has had in appointing interested potential commissioners. And the issue isn't always lack of concern, but lack of administrative action. So that clarification can be added to the minutes.
All right, with that change, are there other corrections? Yes, Janet.
I actually didn't get a chance to read the minutes as I was under anesthesia. But Jess, did you guys identify any other portions of it that that were missing or partial? And are we intending that it does definitely needed to be voted on tonight? Or could I review and add anything into?
Well, I'll tell you what, Janet, why don't you skim it over, and if you think that you want to wait, then I guess we can table it until next time. But I would like to keep our meeting minutes orderly and timely since they get published.
Sure.
I would rather not gap it for 2 months on the public
Sure.
website.
Are we able to vote by email on those, Jeff?
I don't think so. I think we either vote on it in open session or we table it until the next month. So let's revisit that at the end of the meeting, Janet. If you still don't feel comfortable, we'll take a vote. And the people who don't want to approve it, you can vote nay, and we'll revisit it at the following meeting. Okay, next on the agenda are committee reports. Anything new for charter school or target programs to discuss? Okay, item B, low performance and proficiency level of promotions. I got that's my area. I got an email a couple of days ago from the former president of the Bates PTA who was asking to see some of our previous committee reports. I sent them along to her. She may be interested in getting more involved in this. If so, I'll pass that along. Other than that, I don't have anything to add to that. Item C, career pipeline and vocational preparation. Anything to share with the group?
Shoot. Can you hear me? Am I still on? Here we go.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I was looking at the minutes. So I just want to let people know that our phenomenal signature change engineering program coordinator gave a presentation at the Annapolis High PTSA meeting this past month. And she had a very good PowerPoint presentation of all the ways that they're accelerating people being able to take community college courses at half price or paid for by the school, and many other options for career launching that's not necessarily college, that might be certificate programs, other things. So I'm happy to send that around, her PowerPoint presentation, send that around to the rest of the commissioners. I had intended to do it before the meeting, but didn't get a chance to. But they really do amazing things with the Annapolis High signature program, and it's just growing. There's a new entrepreneurship program being launched with the community college for 11th and 12th graders to partake courses of that and get a certificate in. And So there's a lot of exciting things in that area that I'll pass along.
Thank you for the update. Item D, bilingual facilitators and support for English language learner families.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I-
go
I
ahead.
don't have any updates on that, because I will say that this past month has really been focused on working with the different schools to try to get them ready for the hybrid environment and
Sure.
the various things that they need, so.
Items E and F, transportation concerns and the walking radius limitations and school start times.
The school bus safety bill, came up and passed the third reading. I forget, Janet, do you remember the final? I'm sorry, I just reached out to Laura to ask, because she was focused on that. I know it passed the third reading.
Yeah, we're talking about the State House of Delegates. Is that?
Yeah, the school bus safety bill.
Yep. Yep. I don't know much about it, but it has been working its way through.
I'm trying to look that up. My screen has frozen, so I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I can't get back to mute myself. Oh, it passed the House, unfavorable in the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee, so we'll go back for a second reading at some point. So that's the status on the school bus safety bill.
Okay. I just want to add on transportation. I testified, I spoke at the county executive had town hall meetings for each county council district. So ours with Lisa Rodvian on February 8th. And so I testified on behalf of Annapolis High for using the one-time monies that the county has indicated that they have to fix our transportation system with a consultant contract or other that the school system is not able to do themselves. So I would hope that other people can help promote that concept and get some pressure on the school system to implement what the Board of Ed seemed to vote, I think 7-1 on for start times next school year. And Brianna, I remembered what was in the minute. Had the problem with, so within the minutes, halfway down the first page, it says high school will start no later than 8:30. I think it's supposed to say no earlier than 8:30. So if you, that is.
Got it. Yeah, I'll make that change.
Thank you.
You're going to start school earlier movement here inadvertently, right? All right. Okay, that's it. Janet, are you okay to vote on the minutes now, or do you still need more time?
No, that was the one thing. I knew there was something, and that was the
Okay.
one.
Yes, good
Okay.
catch.
Brianna, could you read those two changes then to the previously published minutes, draft minutes?
Yes, so the first one that we mentioned was under old business item A. The new language is for the ward, sorry, one second. For the Ward 6 vacant seat, Ms. Packler and others brought up the delays the city has had in appointing interested potential commissioners. The issue isn't always lack of concern, but a lack of administrative action. So that is the new language there. And then on the first page, under the welcome and comments by Dr. Tobin, we've changed from high school will begin no later than 8:30 to high school will begin no earlier than 8:30.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other changes, corrections, or clarifications? All right, so those in favor of approving the minutes as corrected then, please signify by raising your hand.
Lily and Caleb, we can't.
Okay, I've got 1, 2, Enid, is that a yes? Can you raise your hand if that's a yes?
We can't hear you, Enid.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Odessa.
5, 6, 7. Okay, we've got a majority then. They pass as corrected. Okay, next we're at item 7. The only old business I have is great schools, which I think we've already covered. Is there any other old business here for the group? Not?
Jeff,
Sorry, go ahead,
I just,
Enid.
Yeah, we made a recommendation regarding the board having training in equity and social and racial justice. Did that go out? And Brianna, and if so, did we have a response of any kind?
Laura is in charge of
Oh,
the
that's right,
correspondence.
Laura. Uh-huh.
Yep, and I believe she sent 2 things out today.
Okay.
That I can look through again. But I believe so.
Okay.
Mhm.
1 second.
Well, maybe by the next board meeting.
Yeah, no, I don't think
October.
that specific
Right.
issue was sent out yet.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to follow up on the, sorry, the old business of the issue with the student member of the board, that legislation in state house failed. So.
Good.
I'm sorry, Jess, the motion to adjust, to take away the student voting member failed, so it will remain as is.
Right, yes, the legislation to strip the board members in the state of their vote, if it would be a deciding vote, that legislation failed,
The
so.
voting powers, okay?
I would just want to add on old business that the transportation system is still driving the entire bus of the school system operation right now. And so that is an ongoing problem for us, that it is dictating the high school start times. It is dictating the late elementary start times. It's dictating everything on how hybrid school is being run, even though we don't have, 1/4 of the kids riding the bus. So our efforts on that need to continue, because that weak link is harming our kids functioning. And as they go back, especially our high schoolers, as they go back to the very early learning situation that CDC tells us is bad for them, we're exacerbating the problem.
It's also creating discrepancies and disruptions in the family life, right? When we have people that are, home virtual and they're reliant, but they're working and they're relying, the whole mesh of the family system. When you go from everybody starting at 8:30 and everybody finishing at 3 o'clock to having to basically artificially change to 7:30 for no particular reason. I can pull up, I don't know, Mark, if I'm allowed to share screen, but I have the hybrid virtual registration for our cluster. And, it is the number of students that we have that are going back is very minimal.
You can share your screen.
So I'll show, sorry, maybe I won't be able to share my screen.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with Adobe, as you saw. But basically, we have a very small number of students that are returning in the hybrid environment, and it's really causing a lot of disruptions for families, changing all of the start times of the middle and the high school and the elementary schools. For no reason. We've asked whether there's a reason, and we've been told it's because of transportation, but just using the numbers and basic statistics, I can't see how that could be.
Right. Had transportation been fixed, they could have easily accommodated the number of students going to hybrid with the number of buses we had at newer times, but it has not been fixed. And so it's an ongoing problem that drives the rest of the system. So another interesting thing to note in Jess's spreadsheet that was provided by the school system was the discrepancy in the different school clusters, how many percent people are going back. So like in the Severna Park cluster, you might have up to 65, 67, 77% of learners coming back in hybrid. So as we look of when hybrid was originally intended to be a equity fix, well, is it really an equity fix in the clusters that have 5% free and reduced meals? So if you look in the percent hybrid category, 77 West Annapolis, 77 in some parts of Severna Parks cluster. Mhm.
So Jess, you say, Janet, you're saying there's a very high correlation between poverty rates and low return to the school.
Low return to the schools and affluence rates and high return to the schools.
Yeah, so
Yes.
if you look here at Annapolis cluster, you can see that, for our high school, for the total cluster, we have 34.15% returning to the returning. Whereas if you go to, and same with, for example, North County, which is another very high poverty cluster, 29.46 are returning. But if you go to a cluster like Severna Park, they have a much lower rate of poverty. They have 61.17 returning to the schools. So, there's definitely some discrepancies. And I'll send this this PDF out to the commissioners so that you can see it. It was provided me by the school system. But just so that number,
Right.
so that everybody can see. Also, just so everybody can see within your different wards what the different schools are doing.
Yeah.
I think it's important to notice. You have at Georgetown East, for example, 16% of the students are returning to hybrid, which is a different level. And so percent virtual, for those who haven't been closely following it, percent virtual, for example, at Georgetown East is 36.68, but no response is 46.71, and no response automatically goes virtual. So really the number that is going virtual is 82%, right? I think that's the math. 82% are going virtual, so.
Right. So yeah, even up at Annapolis High School, 40% non-response. I mean, I was one of the non-respondents. The school did make an effort to try and reach out to get a choice. I felt that there was not an informed choice to be deciding between as things were so fluidly changing and not defined. I did not feel it was a choice to make. So, and I think a lot of other families probably felt that way, but very high non-response.
And that is a striking correlation. Okay, any other old business?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ellis has her hand raised.
Okay, please, Ms. Odessa.
She can't hear.
Okay, Ms. Ellis cannot hear. Let me see, how do we troubleshoot?
I'm afraid that's not a problem within the Zoom meeting, so she might have her speakers turned off or her volume down.
Mark, Google Meets has a function where you can transcribe and put a transcription along the bottom. Does Zoom have that capability?
No, I'm afraid not. It will let you add in third-party closed captioning, but it doesn't have automatic captioning like Google Meets does.
Okay. Okay.
Can you
Odessa,
turn
can you
on the
hear
chat function?
Odessa,
Yeah,
can you
actually-
hear us? Or can we just can't hear, you can hear us, we just can't hear you.
I see.
Odessa, one option if you want to speak is to either send it via email to me or send it in the chat function if you know how to use the chat function.
There's no chat.
Okay.
If not, you can write it on a piece of paper and hold it up and we'll figure it out. No? Okay. Okay. Let me see. So let's move on to new business then. We've got just 2 issues, I think, from Ms. Norman, graduation issues and needs for hybrid learning. So Janet, over to you.
Okay, we're continuing to pursue the Sponsor a Senior program through Annapolis High with our administration. And, we've set aside a budget category and hope to be working with the city toward that. We have not heard yet the types of, whether a prom will go forward, what type of graduation ceremony we be having. So we will share that as soon as possible. But the Sponsor a Senior is to cover a cap and gown, a senior t-shirt, and one other thing, just a yard sign. So we would encourage folks to make a donation through the Annapolis High School PTSA page on annapolishighschool.org. And we'll make sure you have that link. The other new business is that the school is offering the SAT exam for free on March 24th, I believe it is, for our 11th graders, back to where we have done in previous years. And I hope everybody can really encourage our students to start preparing now. Like if you know people in the community, start preparing them now, have them go on the College Board website, set up an account. There's free practice tests from Khan Academy for the SAT. And that SAT is really critical to some of our kids being accepted into colleges and getting merit money. And the more they practice, the better they're gonna do, because it's a really fast time sequence test. So please encourage all the people you know to sign up for that benefit. And we have a lot of fun successes to share, that we have first generation college students getting full ride scholarships to Notre Dame, and many other things that their Annapolis High counselors are working really hard to help those students achieve, and we're super proud of them for that. So that's about all I have right now.
All right, thanks. Any other new business?
I just want to give a shout out to Janet, who took on the Annapolis High School PTSA leadership role, and because basically of a lack of other people that were interested, and she has done an amazing job as an incoming high schooler. I'm on the PTSA group, and she is constantly sending information out and engaging people. And I just wanted to set that out. So thank you for all you do for the PTS, for the high school.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you for keeping me sane, you and Laura. And if I'm only doing this for 1 year because my son graduates, hopefully. And we welcome other people who want to help serve Annapolis High and all its great students to get what they deserve. So forward some names, and I'll help train them, and Laura will help guide them along. Thanks.
And it is the one school that everyone here in the cluster shares, right? So it's an integral part of our city's fabric. So thanks, Janet. Any other new business announcements for the betterment of the group?
Jeff, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I went to my phone.
Great.
Okay. How's everybody doing?
We're all doing great.
Okay, good. I missed the first part of the meeting with Ms. Tubin, but I want to make sure I heard what I heard in the last meeting. Did she say that they were going to change the start time to 8:30, starting in the fall?
It's starting in the second semester. They have given the recommendation for the school system to implement it starting in the second semester of next year.
Oh, okay.
Whether that happens or not is still up in the air, depending if they can get the act together to do so. So that's what we're trying to nudge along toward implementation.
So it hasn't been approved then?
It has been a motion that was passed by the Board of Ed, the direct policies for Dr. Arlotto.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And just to go back around to the great schools, could I ask you to type up a couple of lines specifically asking what our principals ought to do with that great schools, reclaiming them? I'm not familiar with that interface. Could you send something to me so I can pass that along?
I will do.
Great, thanks. Anything else? Sheila, anything going on at the city level that concerns the schools?
Well, not direct.
She just left the meeting. I'll see if she can come back.
All right. Anything else from the group? Kayla, how are the students holding up?
We're adjusting. We just got a new grading policy, late work grading policy, so everyone's having to adjust to that. And then, of course, on March 1st, everyone starts waking up at 7:30 again.
Is that as popular in your house as it is with my two high schoolers?
What, 7:30?
Yes.
If we were going in right that week, I'd be fine, but because I'm staying home, it's not as fun.
There's also daylight savings coming, so it will feel like a 6:30 a.m. start with 5:30 a.m. wake ups, unfortunately.
It does feel like we're moving backwards here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that most students will get up at that time? The ones who are on virtual?
I think the students who regularly show up will. If these are kids, if we're talking about kids who are inconsistent with showing up to virtual school, I think they're going to do the same and just show up when they show up.
Okay.
Maybe that's something between Kayla and Janet, if we could, or Jeff, if that's something that we could ask to have a report on for the next meeting, because by the next meeting, we should be 2 weeks back into, well, we'll be a month back into the new start time. But I'd like to know what attendance happened after we changed the start time. I think that would be really important to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's an issue for Joanna. I pose no objection, Jess, if you want to reach out to her and ask her to keep up. I mean, she's our new liaison with the school system. So
Okay.
please.
Oh, and also, from my connection at the board, as of right now, there's planning prom. They are told to, schools are being told to plan prom, but
Right.
it could change on whether or not they cancel it or not, but they are told to be planning prom.
Mhm. Kayla, I've heard that there might be like one centralized location that's AACPS approved and they run all the schools through it or something.
Yeah,
So-
I can see if my person knows any more about that, but from what she
Great.
told me a couple weeks ago, they were told to plan prom. So
Mhm.
that's all that I know.
That would be nice.
It would be nice. I hope it comes through for you. Okay, let's wait one more minute, and then if we don't get Sheila back on, Lynn Farrow, do you have something from the city?
I have something from Sheila.
From Sheila. Okay, great.
So she sent me a text. She said her iPad died. She apologizes. She asked me to announce that the three appointments were approved on Monday evening. So it sounds like you may have filled your ward seat 6 even.
Could be. I don't know. I'll follow
Not
up with
6.
her and we'll
I asked about this today from Hillary. It's not 6, it's India and Grace. And I forget who the third. Oh, here comes Sheila.
Okay.
My iPad said enough is enough is enough.
So I didn't know who the three appointments were.
Grace Matthews, India Oaks, and I don't remember the third person.
I think, was it reconfirming Pam?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Pam becomes.
I don't think it was Pam.
There's no one else new on the list. Hillary just sent it to me today.
Let's see. I can pull up my agenda from the meeting. There were only 2. The other was for the housing. So it was just Grace and India.
Okay, so India Oaks has now been sworn into Ward 5. Is that correct?
They have not been actually sworn in. They were simply confirmed by the council.
By the full council then?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a date on that, Sheila?
It was done on Monday,
Monday?
22nd.
Okay, 2/22/2021. Okay, so India Oaks will go to Ward 5. Grace Matthews then will replace Pam Bukowski as the at-large B. And that again was approved on the same night?
Yes.
You won.
Mhm.
Okay, so that still leaves open Ward 6. And Sheila, is it still your intent to proffer some legislation to allow the city to fill a ward slot if it has remained unfilled for a certain period of time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that will be coming up. Do you have a time frame on that?
No,
Okay,
our law department's a tad bit behind at the moment, but I've made the request of them to write the legislation.
all right, very good. Okay, so Brianna, in the secretary's role, if you would then strike Pam Bukowski and add Grace Matthews for at-large B, and India Oaks goes into Ward 5. Okay, and we still have then a longstanding opening in Ward 6. And the intent of Alderperson Finlayson is to create legislation that would allow the city to fill Ward 6 with a non-Ward 6 representative if a Ward 6 representative can't be identified. Okay, I think I got that right. Is there any other comment or questions about manpower?
I just wanted to say, I had a question that I reached out to Hillary and she's looking into it, but just so everyone knows that I reached out regarding our Ward 6 representative. If we have someone that's interested that is not a primary English speaker, whether translation will be provided, interpretation and translation will be provided at our meetings so that the language that they speak is not a barrier to their representation on the commission, to their participation in the commission.
Sure, thanks. And you're awaiting a response from Ms. Raftovich?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there is an interested party, but English is not her first language.
Okay, great. Well, please keep us informed.
Has anyone, excuse me, has anyone talked about the Kerwin commission? I think that veto was overruled. And so what's the result of that and the effect that it's going to have on our schools in this area?
Odessa, Dr. Tobin did bring that up in her
she did?
Board of Education comments. She mentioned that it was overturned, but implementation and when we may see those funds, how they play into the budget process, she didn't address.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else for the betterment of the group?
I want to just throw a good luck to all of our teachers and our families starting on Monday and then the following Monday and then the following Monday, because things are going to be a little crazy. And Jeff, I'd also ask that if you can just keep us apprised of what's going on at Monarch, because obviously having a leadership change or issue with given at this time with everything else that's going on is important for our cluster.
But to the degree we can share things with privacy concerns, we'll pass along what we hear.
Right.
Okay. Well, our next meeting then.
Janet, we wish you a speedy recovery. You had some kind of surgery. I'm not aware of whatever it is, but
I had the surgery that pro baseballers get, and 88% of them return to the majors. So I'm looking forward to my new shoulder being able to pitch much faster than the old shoulder.
yeah, my husband, I think that's the same surgery my husband had, right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Enid.
Okay.
And I'd also like to wish a happy birthday to Laura's daughter, which is why Laura's not here. And
Yes.
her mom gives up a lot of time for this. And so well deserved to have a night with mom during a COVID birthday, which stinks as it is. So happy birthday.
No doubt. Okay, so our next meeting, remember we've transitioned to the fourth Wednesday of each month. Our next regular meeting will be then on Wednesday, March 24th. As before, we ask for all inputs to the agenda to come 1 week early. Send it to Enid Collison-Lee with a CC to me. And we're trying to work through the city's agenda process and posting and notification system as well. Okay. So if there's nothing else for the group, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
Motion to adjourn the meeting successfully. Thank you, everybody.
All in favor, raise your hand, please. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and
Thank
we'll